Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are watching this video. This video is going to show you a live phone call with Airbnb customer service and how I handled the entire process of getting a review removed. Now, there's a little bit more to operating an Airbnb and making sure that you cover all your bases from the beginning. This video is going to show you kind of how I manage my Airbnbs in situations where there is a request for a refund. I know that the Airbnb guest most likely is going to leave a negative review, so you have to think in the future. You'll hear the representative towards the middle of this video explain to me, like, Nick, you did a very good job in offering everything that you could do to help, and so she's not going to get a refund. Now, let me just preface it with this. My goal as a business entrepreneur and Airbnb is not to take advantage of people. That's not what it is. But when the expectations are set from very clear from the very beginning, and then when a guest goes there and they had higher expectations or lower expectations or whatever, um, it's important that everything is crystal clear. That means in your listing, in the discussion that you have prior to the booking, as well as, the communication you have during the check-in process, everything, basically everything. And that comes with experience. And so you have to make sure that you do that. And it's not about not giving a refund or ruining somebody's time. It's a business at the end of the day. And, when someone cancels day of because they decided when I or you offer everything that you can to help them, then in those situations, there is only one thing. And you'll hear what she has to say, and you'll hear basically what happened and the incident that we had. But it's also, I'm calling out Airbnb as well because they have not really been helping hosts, and I'm kind of getting tired of it. So I hope you enjoy this video. I know this is a long intro. Let's jump into it, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I had this guest, Sina, who had come to the house. If you look in the messages, let me go to my messages. I had explained to her in the beginning because I could tell that she was kind of a new host. I mean, a new guest. And I was explaining to her in the beginning, what the situation is. There was a shopping center called Gateway Mall nearby. The train is 1 minute away, but letting her know that this is a shared space. It's a private bedroom. And she was like, no, it's okay. My big question for the morning is as follows: can I pay a nightly rate of 35 instead of 41? And I said, yeah. And so she had to update her ID, and I helped walk her through basically everything. And then she ended up booking it, and then it was rejected. And I kept explaining it. I mean, I helped her literally through the whole thing. She tried again, and then finally the booking was confirmed. Obviously, in my listing, it all explains everything that I have there, that this is a private room, not a private home, because in the city of New York, it's technically illegal. And so, you can rent out your individual rooms as long as someone that lives there is there on the lease. And that's what I have. That's exactly what I have.
Okay.
So I already know what you're probably going to say because I've had this conversation and it got escalated to you. What happened is that she, I think, had her expectations set very high in the sense that she was not aware that there would be other people in the other rooms. Now, that's clear in all of my descriptions. I use, what's it called? I use Hospitable, which is like a messaging software for me to keep up to date, keep on top of my messaging. And so that's all explained there. And she ended up leaving a negative review because she decided to leave. Now, As she decided to leave, I told her I have another apartment in the basement that is completely private. And I called Airbnb and I spoke to Airbnb and told them that, listen, I'm not going to give a refund because what happens is she booked it a few days prior. And then this is a business for me. I have a mortgage that I have to pay. So I have to pay my mortgage. And she stayed 2 nights. And on the second night, she decided that she wanted to leave. But that messes up my business. And with my guidelines and rules and my listing, I have it set to a strict cancellation policy. When they go and make a checkout and they book the place, I know for a fact that it says, "Are you aware there's a strict cancellation policy on here?" You have to, I think, click a button or put a check mark in the box that you agree that you understand this. And so when you make the booking with my listing, you're well aware that there is a strict cancellation policy. So I had called Airbnb. Well, Airbnb called me. I called them. Whatever, I don't know. And I spoke to the client representative, and I said, "Listen, I understand the woman is saying that the guests next door in the other bedroom were having sex. I can't control what happens in the house. One, because if I were to even go upstairs, the other guest could claim that I was invading their privacy and knocking on the door, and then they could call and you guys could have a situation with me because I interrupted or blah blah blah, whatever. So I don't go upstairs. It's not my place. It's for the guests, and they can handle it with Airbnb as the mediator or with me, and I can text the other guest. The other guest, I did text him. I'd have to look at my calendar to see what his name was, and I said, "Hey guys, listen, the other guests are saying that you guys are being loud, blah blah blah, whatever. It's an embarrassing moment for everybody." And so I said to Sina, listen, I have a place downstairs for you guys. If you want, you guys are more than welcome to move there, but I would ask that you guys do pay the difference. Um, and she said, no, uh, I'm leaving tonight. I want my money back. And this is the first time for my son in New York. And you have ruined this spoiled my bonding with my son. The trip was supposed to help him relax. And I said, I do my best to set all the expectations from the beginning. It's a shared home, and that means that some things are out of my control. As for the time spent with your son, you have more time because she was there for 2 weeks and this was only the first day. I said, like I said, I just spoke with the guests in the room next door, and they actually are leaving in the morning, but I do have my basement apartment available that is totally private that you could go to tomorrow. But this reservation would need to be canceled if you decided to do that. And she said, no, I'm leaving after the experience. My son doesn't want to stay here. He's asking to go home. And I called Airbnb. When Airbnb had called me, I explained the same thing I'm explaining to you. I have a business. My business is to pay my mortgage off. And I have been doing this for a very long time. I think I have almost 1,000 reviews. I've been doing this for 9 years. This is my ninth year. I actually do this full time, and I have a YouTube channel, and I help guide people on how to do things. And we are developers in Mexico, and we build Airbnbs. This is my livelihood. I know how to deal with Airbnb customer service. I know how to deal with Airbnb clients, guests who have issues with anything that happens. And so, at the end of the day, if I were to, I mean, try to accommodate for every single thing, I don't think that I would have a business. And in order to do that, I have to fall in line with your guys' regulations, as well as set the expectations through my rules by having a strict cancellation policy and explaining in every listing, hey, listen, you have to understand that this is a shared space. There are other guests here. Now, her situation was that there was hair in the bathtub. The pots and pans were everywhere. Well, my girl, Tiffany, she's my co host. She lives on the first floor downstairs. It's a 3-family house. I have 3 kitchens, 3 bathrooms, 6 bedrooms, whatever. She lives downstairs. Checkout time is between 11 and 3 p.m. Every day, she cleans at 11 o'clock in the morning when the guests leave.
When they leave between 11 and 3, there is a check-in time. But if I have guests in room B and room A when someone rented room C and the check-in for room C is at 3 p.m., well, Tiffany will clean at 11. She'll clean the pots and pans, she'll clean the bathroom. It's a shared bathroom. But let's say at 2 p.m., the guest in room B wants to take a shower or they want to cook lunch. Well, if they cook lunch and they don't clean their own dishes, or there was hair left in the shower from her taking a shower or the guy taking a shower, well, I can't have Tiffany go back and redo the whole the whole house again, because she has a life, and you know we do it as often as possible. And I encourage each guest in room A or room B, hey, listen, if you clean, put it away. If you turn it on, turn it off. If you move it, put it back. If like whatever, if you opened it, close it. If it was not the way that it was, replace it. And so it's a community living, because you guys technically kind of forced that. You guys wanted to do I mean, this is completely different, but at the end of the day, Airbnb is technically illegal in New York. You guys don't share my information with the city of New York as long as I have a private home and it's individually rented. And I have to adjust to your guys's changes as well, because 9 years ago I could rent it full time, but Airbnb wants to get their IPO and be public, and in order to do that, they're not allowed to have court cases open with the SEC, or with any place, for that matter. And so when you guys changed your rules, I had to change my rules, and I'm not able to accommodate. I mean, I'm able to accommodate anybody, but I'm not able to have someone go there 3 times a day and clean the house knowing that it is a shared space. So like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, if you were to check in at 3,
Yes.
but I have room B and room A being used and someone's cooking, well, it was cleaned at 11, but if you cook lunch at 2, I can't have Tiffany go and clean that when she has another job or she's doing something else. So I offered this woman, Sina, a another spot. She decided that she didn't want to take it. It was completely available to her the next day, and she didn't want to take it. So now she checked out, right? She checked out on her second day. So that would have been January 22nd. She left me a review that is a 1 star that tarnishes my business. And now I'm left with this review, but I did everything in my capability from the beginning to allow her to have the time that I set the expectation for it. Listen, this is a shared spot. If you're coming here and the attraction is that it's cheap. Well, there's a saying, you get what you pay for. And right now in New York is my low season. January, February are my lowest season, are my lowest times. And what do I have to do? I have to lower that. But I'm forced to lower it to pay the mortgage. Now, had she come in July, August, or maybe at Christmas time, that's a whole different crowd of people coming, because they're affluent people in the sense that they have additional money to spend. So they're spending $85 a night in a shared room, and they're out during the day. They're tourists. They're not local guests that are coming to have just time away from mom and dad, and maybe they are having sex in the room. That's not my place to ask questions. I provide a home for guests to come, and if I started asking questions, they could call you guys and say, hey, this guy is invading my privacy, and then I have an issue with Airbnb. So there's a fine line that you guys have created where I can and can't do certain things, and so I have to run it as a business. That's how it is. And so for me to get a negative review from something that I was straight up on and worked with her and set the expectations and have been doing this for 9 years and continue to do this as I do down here in Mexico, like, it's not fair from that perspective either. that she can do that. And then what happens is I make a phone call, the customer service representative, it's out of their realm. They're not able to handle it because that's a different department. They don't have a phone number. I have to fill out. They make a ticket. The ticket gets sent in a lost ticket form for 72 hours. I get a random phone call at 7 o'clock at night, and then I have to go back and re-explain myself. And then what happens is, well, I actually was just calling about the refund because I know that's what you were calling about. But then the same situation for my negative review has to be seen by somebody else. And then what happens? It gets turned into, well, our policy states this. Well, that's cool. But you understand that if I gave her refund back for $540.17, I give her the refund back, we can do this ultimatum. Well, if I give her the refund back, then I want my review taken off. But at the end of the day, it's a non-perishable item. And from January 21st until February 3rd, not only did I lose my $540, I have to suffer from that. And I lost my reputation on Airbnb. This has happened multiple times in the past like 3 years. I used to be a super host. Now I'm not, because you guys abide by a strict Airbnb review policy. And it's not fair for individual accounts. I don't have like someone that I work with. Every time I call, it's a new person, and I have to spend an hour and a half explaining myself. And then it gets brought up to a different chain. And then that person goes on vacation for 4 days. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm actually not, I'm out of the office. I won't be able to do this. So then my negative review stays on my account for 2 weeks. And then they just say, you know what? Sorry, we can't do this. It doesn't abide by our policy. So it's like a broken record. It's just a circle, and it's just something that I've come to like like peace with internally with myself, that you guys are really not there to help me, and why should I be there to help everybody else when you guys are not there to help me? um you know Obviously I know you're from a different department because I can tell you're writing on your keyboard in the background. And so you're taking notes, you're doing something differently than the first guy that I call on Airbnb does. And you know it's you're from a different department. I don't know what department you're from, but I know that this is going to be handled differently, because like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. So I know I spoke for a long time, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say, and we can go from there.
Yeah, I see why you got yourself a drink.
Yeah, I told you.
That was thank you for all that information. As you were talking, I was looking into everything. I see the review that you were talking about. I'm able to remove it because a lot of the wording she used in that. So I'll go ahead and remove that for you, and I'll send you a message saying I removed it, and send her a message saying I removed it too because it's outside of our policy. And
Okay.
it's kind of education purposes for her. And then with the refund, that's all I was asking. You offered a solution to her problem, and she didn't take it, and she left before the other guest left. And so her leaving, she canceled on her own. So your cancellation policy would fall in place, and that's it. She won't get a refund. Any further refund does come from the host. So that's why I was calling to see if you're willing to give her one, but you answered that, which is a no. So I would just send her a detailed message saying your cancellation policy is this. Further refund was denied, and kind of let her know, like, in the future, she gets an Airbnb anywhere else, work with the host. If the host is trying to provide you with the solution, that's the best route to go. And then if it's the only time a guest really gets a full refund is if, say, it's winter time, it's negative 14 degrees outside, and the heater goes out. That's qualification for a full refund.
I understand that.
That's
Of course,
crucial.
I understand that.
But what you did was amazing. Like you addressed the situation when she brought it up to you. You can't control the outside environment or what the neighboring room's doing or anything like that. Like, that's out of your control. So you're not at fault for none of that. And you did right. You let them know, like, hey, there's a kid next door, there's other guests, or whatever you told them. And they were leaving the next day. She just didn't want to stay and wait for it. And so the refund would be denied on our part, and it was denied on your part. So it's kind of like a lesson learned. I do feel bad for her kid, for the whole situation, but I understand everything that you said.
Of course.
And with the review, we changed a lot of our policies with how we view reviews. That's hard to say twice. How we review reviews, just because we had a lot of feedback that wasn't too much positive on how we were handling the situations.
Okay.
So they did a lot of changes with that. So it's a little bit more simpler when we look at it to see if we're able to remove it or not. And reading the review, definitely we can remove it because a lot of the wording in it. So you don't have to worry about that. I do apologize for everything, for you feeling like you're kind of getting tossed around everywhere. And I know we're making a lot of changes. So I feel like that's one of the main changes that we are going to improve on. Thank you so much for being a host for 9 years and being a super host. That's a very hard status to get and keep. So, I mean, you understand. With the reviews, it does kind of knock a lot of people out of the super host status. And a lot of the things is out of your control. So you can't even control what a guest leaves as a review. So what I'm going to do is, I know it's not a lot, but I'm going to provide you with a link so you can provide that feedback, because all the feedback that's being provided, it goes all the way up the chain. And so somebody's reading it and they're making adjustments with that. And it's all the hosts have the same complaint about the same thing. Then eventually it's going to get looked at twice. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then I'm going to put it in my notes too. And see if I can raise it up to somebody's attention too. Because I hear it a lot. The reviews is a big thing. And a lot of the reviews are less over something that the host can't control. You can control if you clean the restroom, but you can't control what the neighbor does.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and what department are you in?
What department am I from?
Yeah.
The resolutions team. I get problems presented to me all day, and I come up with the resolutions.
Man,
see what,
I commend you for your job, listening to people yelling at you and arguing. That's a hard job to have.
So there you have it. If you made it this far, I know it was kind of a long video. Comment below if you need help with any sort of incidents that you have at Airbnb. Like I said, I have 9 years experience of doing this, and I can help you. If you write a comment below, I can make more videos like this to clear up some of the misconceptions, to help you in some sort of process. I can make these types of videos. They're very easy. I'm on the phone with Airbnb quite often, and so I'm going to start recording more and share with you how I work with Airbnb customer service to get stuff like this completed. So let me know and hit that like and subscribe button.